Hi, everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk About the Real Shit. My name is Naomi, and we have Lori in the house as well.
Hello, people.
And we also would like to welcome Lucas, as you remember from our last podcast, as more of a permanent co-host for our podcast.
Hey, everybody. I had such a good time last week, and, we had such good chemistry on this side. We really hoped you all enjoyed it, and I'm back. We'll see for how long. I think it'll be a little while.
Yeah, and plus he has a really super sexy radio voice.
They got me. They got me. I can't lie.
Well, it's good. I've known Lucas forever, and it's definitely a good thing to have the balance when it comes to talking about some of these issues with the male and the female, and Lucas definitely doesn't hold back on some of those things. So welcome to the team, Lucas.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Welcome, Lucas.
Awesome. So we're going to start today's podcast with a really awesome quote of the day, and actually Lori's going to take this one.
Hello, everybody. This is something that I try to do at the beginning of my day just to kind of set my mind, maybe put an intention out there on how not only am I going to interact with others, but how I'm going to interact with myself. And so today I want to share with you a quote that says, "Stretching your imagination is critical if you want to radically change your life, because we're asking ourselves to picture our dream lives from the, quote, realities we currently exist in."
I love that. That's great.
It's kind of about what the real shit is about.
It's definitely how this started, for sure.
Taking a dream, stretching it, and making a creation of our own.
And it takes work every day. It requires a little bit of effort into yourself, which I think that we all don't do enough. So remember, you guys, to put effort into yourself a little bit every day, whether that's a quote of the day or even taking an hour. I mean, I take a bath in the morning and kind of do my thing for an hour so that when I leave the front door, I'm not an asshole.
And I do a daily practice of 50 minutes of meditation every day to start my day off.
It's awesome. I want to work to get to that place because I love it. I love watching you do that when I leave and you're walking. So today we are really super excited. It's a topic that comes up a lot because we live in Portland, Oregon, and in Portland, Oregon, there's a lot of homeless that we are facing. In Portland specifically, when people come and visit, they're shocked by what they see, and it's really because we have all these tent communities, and so it's more visible when you come into Portland how the homeless is prominent here. And it's one of those subjects that I talk a lot about with a lot of people from around the world because I'm a Lyft and Uber driver, and so I get them from all around the world, and they're always super shocked by what they're seeing. And some of the things that I talk about when it comes to the homeless in Portland is, yes, we have a lot of homeless people here. However, in Portland, I feel personally that they're there holding their signs, and sure, they're prominent there with their tent communities, but I haven't really ever had a moment where I've been harassed at all in Portland, personally. I used to live in Eugene. You couldn't go a block without having 5 people ask you for change. And so it's a little bit different. As for you listeners out there that don't know where Eugene is, it's 2 hours south of Portland. And in between Eugene and Portland is Salem, which is the capital of Oregon. And actually, in my research for some of the homeless issues that we face in Oregon, I found out that Oregon ranks first for the homeless youth.
Wow.
In one of these articles, it says from the Portland Tribune that there was over 22,000 students on the streets or homeless, whether that's like on the streets, homeless, or if it's foster kids too. So we'll post all of these articles on our website and on our social media later. But we are here to welcome a very special guest who's somebody who is very immersed in in this community and who is out there actively every single day looking out for these kids that are homeless here in Portland. And her name is Pippa Arend.
Hello.
Hi, Pippa. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So we brought her in today because we would like to know what PAIR does. So Pippa works at PAIR downtown Portland, and I'll let you kind of take over this place.
Sure. Well, going back to your quote from the beginning, Lori, this idea of taking a dream, boy, was it. So me and two other women back in 1999 had a dream, had a vision. And the vision was to create an environment where homeless young people could see themselves as more than just homeless, where homeless kids could have access to the tools that they need to engage with the world intellectually, with the world emotionally, with the world physically, because all humans, not just homeless kids, but all people, all kids, all adults need access to things that support your intellect, your emotions, and your body, your head, your heart, and your body. So that's what we wanted to create. So we created PAIR, and that's the acronym. It stands for Project Education Arts Recreation, Head, Heart, Body. So from one point of view, what we do is not innovative. It's just rare to work with homeless young people as though they are young people. And, as simple as that. That was our vision. So how it started was us three ladies. We were working at a program that worked with these kids. It was a school, a Portland public alternative school for homeless kids.
This was like all three of you doing this together.
Yeah, Beth.
Awesome.
Yeah, one of the women had been there for 8 years, one of the women for 3 years. I was hired on right at the tail end to bring in an arts component because they had a really incredible education program. They had a really solid recreation program just because of one of the other staff there climbed mountains and took kids with them, and had a great baseball team, softball team for the kids, so really extensive recreation programs. So that was working. But what they did not have was an arts program. I met one of the women through a common friend, and I'm an artist. That's my background. So they brought me on to bring an arts component to that school, and it worked. It worked solid, and it worked hard. And so we suddenly had this program that had these three dimensions, and then that program, it was funded by the Salvation Army, closed, and it was quite scandalous when it did. Yeah, I won't even go into all the scandal of that story. But
it's part of your guys' climbing that mountain to get there for these kids.
Oh boy, was it? Yeah, it was wild. So when that program shut. Can we swear on podcasts?
We can.
Yes, we can.
This is the real shit.
This is the real shit.
You can do what you want here.
All right. So when that happened, we said, fuck them all. Let's do this ourselves, and let's do it better. Yeah. So we decided to take the best parts of that program, which was the relationships between the mentors and the kids, the best part, and let go of all the bullshit. So all of the funding that was religious, all of the funding that we felt would cause us to run counter to our mission. And I don't want to say religious funding is bad.
Sure.
The way it was working at that particular program for us as we moved forward trying to create our own program was not in line with our vision. So we created a program really by sitting around at a restaurant after we had lost our jobs with a glass of wine in one hand and a shitty flip phone Nokia in the other, being like, what do we do? How do we create this vision? We have this idea. What do we do? And so literally with, French fries, Nokia phone, and wine glass and lots of tears as we were sort of like emoting our way through our experience, we saw a space for rent kitty corner from where we were sitting. And I had the shitty phone, so I called and got a hold of a guy named John who owned that piece of property in downtown Portland. And he said, I asked if we could rent the space. We had this idea for a homeless youth program. He said, I can't rent it to you because I'm trying to sell the building. And I said, great. How about no lease? We'll take it. I know a default lease is a 2-month lease, and surely whatever we build, we can move in 2 months. So why don't you give us a great deal for no lease? What do you say? And he couldn't think of a reason not to. So we were there paying 1/5 of market rent for 6 years. Yeah, and
6 years.
Yeah, and eventually he did sell the building, and we had to move. By then we had a little bit of structure underneath us, and we were able to move about 10 blocks north and move into a building that that we've been stable in ever since. So
And that's where you are now.
that's where we're at now.
Awesome.
That's what you have seen. So, so it's been a long, slow burn, but when we, in September, it'll be the beginning of our 18th year.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, my little baby is grown up.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty
And
incredible.
lots of little babies along the way.
And lots of little babies along the way. Yeah. So some numbers,
Yes.
just to do the numbers.
Yeah,
We
please.
have enrolled about 5,000 kids in these 18 years, close to 18 years. On average, we'll see about 75 kids a day. It's a lot of kids.
That
So
is a
in
lot
any
of
given
kids.
year, we'll see about 800 different kids. We've grown from the staff of 3, which, in the beginning, it was really scratch and claw. Like there was a lot of funding that we knew we didn't want to take. So what does that leave?
Right.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
So, the first month's rent was paid, I don't even remember, probably by a friend, that we
Yeah.
borrowed it from. The second month, we just pulled our funds. Third month, we had a really shitty fundraiser at a local bar and learned how not to have an event by having that first event.
Yeah,
In other words, don't get drunk at your own event. We learned that lesson painfully, and it was a hard lesson that we had to learn repeatedly as it
Good
turned
advice,
out.
people. Listen
Right?
up.
Listen up. Drink after. But anyway, so learning, so that shitty event produced another month's rent,
Yeah.
so it took 3 years before any of us got a paycheck. It took till year 10 for all 3 of us founders to get all paid all year round. It was a long, hard slog, but in the beginning, there was an element of ease to it because there was this sense of audacity,
Yeah.
and there was this sense of charm that audacity brings with it. It was also minutes after 911, and if you remember,
wow.
right,
Ooh, timing.
right, chills right now, chills, because if you remember that era, there was something sparkly in the air. There was something like
Community.
such communal grief and
Yeah.
hope, and it was
Support,
support.
love.
It was all there, and so
Neighbors,
so we were able to, just the timing was sort of alchemical in that sense that we were doing this thing. I mean, we literally incorporated like the day before. I mean, the timing was just really strangely. I do not want to say the word fortuitous, but
Prophetic, maybe.
yeah, something like that that allowed us to be trying to open doors at a time when people were willing to have our backs. I'll say that.
Well, something like that happens. It's a pretty major eye opener. And so people are going to be more willing to, maybe I should give out a little bit more to the people that are around me, because it's probably the first time they had noticed. And it took something like that,
Yeah, I think our whole country was sort of
Oh, yeah.
shaken.
I'm pretty
and-
sure we all
yeah.
know what we were doing.
Well, my
in that
memory
moment.
of that was just even reaching out to your neighbors that lived next door to you that you didn't even really know. So
Yeah.
it was a true sense of community coming together.
Yeah.
I think it was a trauma that we've all experienced,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, a
to put
collective
it.
trauma. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was traumatic for all of
Yeah.
us. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and shared trauma is something, I mean, it's kind of neat that we're talking about it like this right now. Shared trauma is something that it's like sowing the seeds of community. It sets it up to just happen and happen well. It does. It just sets it up to be there. And, I'm not glad when anybody gets hurt. But I am proud of, what our country chose to do en masse. Sure, everybody does their stuff, but en masse, it really seems, I'm agreeing with what everybody's saying here. It really seemed that, our country did come together. Our people did sort of, lock arms and
Exactly.
get more neighborly, Yeah.
There's a spiritual teacher by the name of G.I. Gurdjieff who has a great quote, which is, "Man is the waster of sorrows." And if you digest that, then you can sort of rewind that quote a little bit and intentionally not waste our sorrows, which has been a driving force in my own personal life, is to not waste my sorrows.
Yeah.
I really like that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So from that event, what happened with Pear?
Well, That event happened on 911, as we recall. And like I said, that was right when we were incorporating. The shitty fundraiser I talked about was on December 1st or 3rd. I can't quite remember. But that's what seeded that first month's rent. And so we opened February 1st, 2002. And that was a Friday. And which we thought was hilarious because we opened for a day and then closed for the weekend. But our idea was, let's open for a day and see what happens. And if
that day matters.
Yeah. And if it all goes badly, we have the weekend to sort of drink wine or reassess or both or what have you. But very interestingly, on that first day, a couple things happened. One is we saw 12 kids, and our 5-year goal, based on all of our experience at the other program, was to see 25 kids within 5 years. So to have 12 on that first day, we were like, oh shit, this is real. This is needed. The kids are here. The kids are coming. Hold on. And sure enough, by the 9th month, we were seeing 60 kids a day, which was way beyond.
And is this are these kids finding out about it through word of mouth?
Yeah. And I can't remember if I said, these are homeless youth. So and technically these are not young kids, which is sometimes what people think when I say that word. These are 15 to 24-year-old young people. Yeah. So they're young adults. They're sort of right in that transition age, which I think is the coolest age. It's, but teenagers are something special. You have to have some kind of warped gene to love them as much as I
intense.
do.
I have a 22-year-old.
Yeah.
It's intense.
It's a real.
Sometimes he regresses to 16, and so you have to learn how to deal with those different kinds of emotions when you're dealing with that age group.
It's wildly hormonal.
Because even when they're 22 or 24 years old, they have those moments where they think they know everything, and then they have those moments where I don't know anything, and they break down, and then they regress to 16, and they react like a 3-year-old would react. So you've got a lot of things going on in that age group.
Yeah, it's the Romeo and Juliet era, I say.
That's just a good one. Yep.
It's wildly dramatic. Everything is so important.
Yeah. So can you share with us why you go to the age of 24? Because most people think youth is 18 and below. So why do you go between 15 and 24?
It's actually a really excellent question that you're asking, because initially we went to the age of 21. But we work with damaged young people, right? And so, yes, their bodies are 21, but their minds are 16, going on 3, going on 93, and everything in between. And it was actually, to tell the real truth, there was one particular young woman who I just want to cry every time I think about her. She's one of the closest human beings I have to me in my life still to this day. And one day she turned 21, and I could not let her go. And so I turned to my coworkers and I said, without mentioning her, I pretended like it was just an objective piece of research I was doing. What if we go to the age of 22? Because I'm just noticing that would make sense given everything. And they agreed to it. And then one day, a year later, this young woman turned 23. And so I, again, turned to my coworkers and did the same thing. And so we aged as this, we extended our age range as this young woman aged up into 25. And then it just, we have to have a cutoff. And, we don't take government funding, right? So the more kids that we get, the less, if it's a zero-sum game and there are aspects of it that are zero-sum, there's less resources to go around, right? So with some programs that do receive government funding, you get paid by the kid. So there's sort of an incentivization to go into babysitting mode and just
to keep
load
your population
them in.
High.
Yeah, and our program, because it is only private funding, is the opposite of that. So so now when this young woman comes in, she's not coming in as part of the program. She is, I think, 37 now, right? Uh-huh. And I'm 47. Just sort of gives a sense of how young I was when this program started. But now she comes in to say hello, and I'm her witness. And sometimes she needs a bus ticket, and because things have not gone fantastically well for her in her life, but they've gone so much better than they would have.
Well, she looks up to you, and you're one of those people in her lives that are able to validate.
She still has a human
her.
touch point.
Yeah, we are. each other's, one true love. We love each other very, very much.
Something that's, I think it's fascinating, the number span that you landed on. So biophysiologically, the brain develops up into age 25,
and it's getting slower.
Yeah, exactly. But the malleability, the old dog new tricks stuff, technically our brains are still young dogs up until we're 25. And
Yes.
even more to the point, with some of these folks that have experienced limitations in education or unhealthy lifestyles that slowed the development. So I think it's perfectly fitting. I think you landed on the exact correct number for the population goals that you're speaking about.
Yeah, we learned a lot of that research later and saw that how deeply affirming it was. Yeah, and I think that's why I love teenagers, is because there is a malleability, there is this flexibility, there is a sense of experimentation, there is a sense of hope that comes with that experimentation. When you get into homeless adults with whom I do not work, there is, I think, more often a sense of stasis and a sense of sort of long term, and I'm not sure I could do that. I'm not sure I could work personally with
One
homeless
of the words
adults. It's
I
a different
have
thing,
been reading about in our research is chronic homelessness. Chronic homelessness.
And so, right.
Yeah.
And so I work with young people, some of whom are chronically homeless as it is defined, but generally, by definition, there's a sense of something happened and I am working through it. And that is the general ethos of every young person at Pear, which is what makes it sustainable for me emotionally.
I personally think I'm a mama, an auntie to all children, and I have actually personally have gone through moments of, technically homelessness. I was not on the streets like some of these kids, but I have had hard times when I couldn't get employment. I went out every day on foot to try. I had to use every resource that I could. I remember one time going in to try to donate plasma, but I actually didn't weigh enough. So I couldn't even get the $35 that I would have gotten to donate plasma. So I've definitely personally had these moments where I have struggled in my life extremely hard, and I can understand how when you are homeless and you are having these moments and you have nowhere to go, you got nothing to eat, you've got no money, you're hot, you're tired, you're hungry, you're lost, and it's when you have all of these things happening to you in the moment, it is extremely exhausting. And I've had a lot of different moments where I've approached all different kinds of homeless people because I see them and I have gotten down on their level, and I'll tell you, they know that I know. Because the level of that tired exhaustion, the stress, the I don't know, all of these things, and I was not in my 20s when this was happening. I was older. It was not easy for me. So I can certainly relate to how some of these kids must be feeling, and also in a lot of the research that I've been doing is, they're coming from abused homes, they've been molested, or, they've had a lot of fucked up lives. And this is the beginning stages of their life. And these babies, in fact, you'll hear me say it all the time, it's all about the babies. And if you talk to any older woman who has been through any kind of a hard time, like what I'm sharing with you, it's about making sure our kids don't have to have that kind of a life that we have gone through, And so for me with Pear and you doing what you do, and if I were to start somewhere, where if I were to be able to give back in the moment that I'm in now, it would certainly be super focused on some of these youth, because I do feel like at that age, it's not fair that they are where they are and where they have come through and what they have been taught. And we have to be open to understanding that. But they have a chance. They really have a chance. And so by showing that extra love and support and community, and through arts and the things that you guys are doing at Pear, I think is very, very, very important to do with kids. So amen to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I share in the sentiment completely. And we actually, all three of us did a substantial amount of research, just getting a little caught up on like current homelessness here in Portland or in Oregon, looking at some other aspects of it, some of the stats from the last few years. And one of the things that really stuck out to me, and it's interesting that I didn't realize you guys don't take government funding. One of the things that sort of stuck with me, would have been probably like part of the thesis if I was writing a research paper on this stuff, was that the HUD, the Federal Department of Homelessness, and PAIR specifically, but I'm guessing other Oregon entities as well, they don't always agree on definitions and maybe even age cutoffs and things like that. So I was curious what your experience has been with that, with the PAIR setup, maybe a little bit about Oregon specifically compared to the federal homelessness issue and some of the struggles that are happening there.
Well, you mentioned a number earlier, 22,000 kids on the street, and you were saying that includes...
That was like 2017 from the Portland Tribune, yeah.
And you said that included foster kids.
Yeah.
So, how you define homelessness, defines your number, right?
Yeah.
So is it the kids that are outside? Is it the kids who have a couch one day but not the next?
Right.
Is it kids who are in foster care?
And actually, that's another thing, is that these kids who are couch surfing are technically, the hidden homeless. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, homeless kids are notoriously the most difficult population to count because they hide.
Yeah.
Of course they do.
And they are good at it.
Yeah.
So in my experience, the number that I have heard that sort of rings true with me is somewhere in the 2,000 to 3,000, and that's not including foster care kids. That's the kids that are actively on the streets.
So, is this the Portland area?
Portland area, yeah.
Okay.
And that stat, just to specify a little bit, that particular stat was 22,000 students or school-age students that had been at one time throughout the year. So not necessarily over the entire annuum, but at one point, and I think there was a minimum.
So those were kids that were in Portland Public Schools in
that at some point
in
in
Oregon,
the year.
actually.
In Oregon.
Portland.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Oregon. Oregon ranked number one. So this is the polls from all of it around. So
that's an interesting number.
But a big part of that is Portland, Salem, and Eugene, like I was talking about. Like that's the strip, as I would call it, really.
And Beaverton too, I read.
Oh, well, Beaverton and Hillsborough are kind of part of our metro area.
Yeah.
You can take the max to get to Portland. So
and so PAIR, to deal with that on just sort of a practical level, our mission statement is that we work with homeless and transitional young people. So we don't kick people out of our program if they're able to stay on someone's couch for a while, because we find that it's much more than your physical locality that defines you as homeless. There's so much of the attitudinal components that need to be worked with to help kids navigate out of homelessness. It's a long-term job.
Mentoring and parenting and that kind of adult presence is kind of what I'm hearing.
Yep.
So actually, and that right away brought me into immediately when you do go into PAIR, that is something that you guys stress about how important it is to just care about them.
Oh, yeah. So the structure of PAIR, for those of you who have not been there, is sort of like a Maslow's needs hierarchy scale, in that the first thing that happens is this idea of safe space. Let's just get safe. Let's just make sure you have a bagel in your body. Let's make sure you have a place that you can take your backpack off and it won't get stolen. Let's make sure that you have some eye contact. Let's make sure you have someone who knows your name. Let's make sure there's, food in your belly and you can use the restroom. So that's really, sort of...
And you guys have food out all of the time, too. You guys don't have a set schedule, because it's important when they come in to be able to, feed themselves.
Yeah, because if you're hungry, you can't do anything,
No.
right? So everything starts with the belly.
Yeah.
Really just 100% everything. I start with my belly, right? And so if you walk into our space, it's sort of set up like a one-room schoolhouse, or big, not quite living room, more like a big schoolroom. So it's communal tables and lots of chairs. There's a kitchen right there. There's always food out. We do have meals that come out, morning and lunchtime, because we're sort of school hours. We call the kids students. They call me teacher. That's sort of the language that we use. So in other words, what we don't use is client case manager language. So student teacher.
Okay, cool.
And that's based on a sort of a dignity thing, the dignity of a language.
Well, that's
around
also
that.
teaching a little bit of respect.
I was just going to say.
It sets boundaries.
Yeah, so the kids call us their school. And so they can come get food at their school. That's sort of the language that they use. So we have these set meals, but there's also always food out, so kids always have access. And it's really it's an empowerment tool that's so subtle but so important. So it is not like even when they're coming to get lunch when lunch is served, it is not where they go up to a window and glop is given on a tray. They literally can go up to the table and get as much food as they want. The idea is that they look around and see how many other kids are around and look at the table and see how much food is there and make their own decision. Sometimes they make that decision well, sometimes not. And I believe it is important to give the kids the room to make those decisions themselves. And if they're being super hoggy, we'll have that conversation. But a lot of these kids experience food insecurity, and to be able to pile on a plate,
Yes.
as much as you want, is something every single person needs to have that experience.
It makes a huge difference
at least
when
once.
you're fed and you're hungry. I'll tell you, when you're hungry, and you'll do anything to survive, and just to be able to have that opportunity.
And sometimes you have to let the kid have that experience, even just once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times. And then they sort of like can navigate over that emotional hump. And, but during those initial times, I don't care if they waste food. It's more important that those kids have that emotional experience of the security that comes through piling on a plate.
Abundance, that one moment of abundance.
Yep. So we work hard to make food available. And we also that's a huge place where we work with our community. So this is food that is donated by local restaurants for the most part. It's also donated through local food organizations such as Beeline, which is a local bicycle-based organization that goes to local food marts, mainly organic food marts, and then redistributes that food to places like Pear, to places like Urban Gleaners, Oregon Food Bank. So it's really sort of feast or famine, and it's like Iron Chef Pear style. So, so it'll be like, it's 9 a.m. We got to have food out in a couple hours for lunch. We have 3 boxes of bok choy, 2 flats of tortillas, 3 strips of bacon, 2 cans of tuna, and a head of lettuce. Go. And it's just what are we going to make?
Yeah.
And we're working with very...
Poor Women's Pantry. We were talking about that today. That's from me being a single mother. A single parent. There were times I would look in my pantry and it's like, what are we having for dinner? And I called it pantry surprise, actually.
Yes. So we have a pear tree surprise. and also we're dealing with, different food sensitivities too, because a lot of these kids live outside. They are sick.
Absolutely.
Right? And many of them have, for example, gluten sensitivities, where if they eat a bagel, they fall asleep. If they do that at another program, they eat that bagel because that's all that's available is cheap carbs, right? So they eat that bagel, and then guess what? They either pass out and get kicked out, or they have behavior issues and get kicked out, right? So food really creates the behavior that allows for sustainability within a program. So we work hard to
recognize
that,
kids.
have gluten-free options. I mean, we are in Portland, right? So it's got to be gluten-free options or vegan or vegetarian, and to the best of our ability, we try to accommodate these kids.
So if I went to Costco and I bought 2 things of peanut butter, I could bring one out, drop one off at Pear for you anytime.
Yes, more than that. We are heading into fall, and I call Pear in the fall, I call us the SDRC, which is the Squash Donation Resource Center, right? Great. So bring in your zucchinis, right?
We just had some zucchini tonight,
fantastic.
actually.
Right? Yeah, and like
absolutely.
those big honkers that you don't know what to do with, bring them to us. We will make soup and we will make bread.
Thank
That's
you.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because it is squash season.
Yeah.
Will you tell us a little more about maybe like 3 or 4 things that your everyday listener can do, such as donating food? Can we maybe get a rundown of some of those things?
Yeah, so you can see our needs list on our website, which is pearmentor.org, like mentoring the fruit, PEARMENTOR.org. Needs list, it's all there. But you can think of your head, your heart, and your body, right? So think of everything that supports your intellectual needs, from paper to pencils, to pens, to rulers, to calculators. All of those things are things that we need. In terms of the arts, every single craft supply we will use, from glues to glue guns to our arts coordinator hates glitter, so bring a lot. That's all I can say. AKA raver
Glitter
skaties, as they call it. Yarns, knitting needles, construction paper, everything that you used as a teenager to make stuff. Those are things that we use. These are teenagers, right?
What about like partially used paint cans? Because I know a lot of people like get a wall done, they have it, they're never going to use it again. It just sits on a shelf. Is that
So
within the
water-based paints?
Water-based, okay.
And preferably acrylics that are we don't like big paint cans because they're difficult to store, difficult to open, and who knows what's in there. So we prefer gently used or new water-based paints.
Okay.
Brushes, tons of brushes.
Yeah.
We just cruise through those. And then in terms of recreation supplies and just outdoor living supplies, so
Toothbrushes, socks, new underwear.
yep, all of those
Yeah.
things: tents, tarps, warm clothes, jackets.
Hats.
These are young adults, so young adult sizes in terms of underwear, socks,
Right.
all of those
Coats,
things.
hats, gloves.
Coats, hats, gloves, especially as we hit the cold season, because these are kids
Yeah,
who,
it's coming up.
and they don't have washers, right? So socks are essentially used for a day or two, and then if their boots are leaky, which they are, then it starts heading into boot rot if you keep using the same socks. So new socks over and over and over again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go a little bit further into exactly what you guys are doing at Pear, because we started off when they come in, they get to feed their bellies. What's next for them?
So once they have that foundation of feeling okay about themselves, right? Feeling a little bit of witness. To go back actually to the biophysiological piece, our goal with these kids is to help them access their mirror neurons. Like, I am being seen, I am being witnessed,
Awesome.
I am being seen, I am being witnessed, I am okay, I am here. Someone sees me, and that comes through just physical presence and in a safe environment. So that's a lot of what we're trying to do with these really traumatized kids, right? So from that foundation, then we have our mentoring program, which is where we get to do stuff. And this is the stuff that people often know about Pear. This is the fun stuff. This is all the workshops that are educational, artistic, and recreational. So from poetry class to writing club to resume interview skills to arts classes and arts field trips. And we go up to the Seattle Art Museum. We just built a soapbox derby racer car.
It's
We
cute.
saw it.
Yeah.
The Simpsons.
which we won an award.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was our arts coordinator leading that project, because it was an idea by one of our students to make the Simpsons couch that would then be turned into a racer derby car that would go down a hill. So it had this whole mechanical piece, it had this art piece.
Oh, it looked fantastic.
It was fantastic.
It looked fantastic.
It was incredible.
It was incredible.
It was incredible. Yeah. And
Is it on your website?
it's
derby car?
probably on our more likely on our Facebook page.
perfect.
Yeah, it's all over the Facebook page, and we won crowd favorite is what we won. And then we have our recreational field trips, which is our hiking, climbing, kayaking, spelunking, some overnight trips. So really extensive, really incredible camping trips, to sort of reframe the idea of the outdoors for kids who live outdoors, right? To make it fun, and also to add this element of play and relaxation, because these kids don't get the weekends off being their.
Well, they're surviving.
Right.
They're surviving, right? So
When you're sitting in the park, you're just stoked that it's the daytime and you can sit in the park.
and you're
And it's
mildly,
not
mildly safe. Yeah.
But also, I've had these moments, because I talked about, I've had some moments where I was like, oh, that looks like a great bench to just go take a nap on. I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you that it is not the best nap you will ever take in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, nowhere near.
You're hyper aware of what's going on around you, and you're also it's not your home. You don't feel secure there. So
And there's a ton of
there's
new
that
research.
difference between the suffering and the surviving, and actually being able to go out and do something recreational where you're not being judged for being there too, because that's also something that is happening as well.
Right? So a place where you can just have fun.
Yeah.
But going back to the sleep thing, there's been new studies about the intersection between trauma and sleep deprivation. And
Absolutely.
these are young, growing minds that need downtime.
Yeah.
And so, so a recreational trip is sort of designed to do that. We also have cooking classes and food clubs and,
Cool.
just all sorts of stuff. And at this level, it is all about the process. So it's engaging. I don't actually care about the product. I don't care about the food. I don't even care about the GED at this level. What I care about is the relationships that are built while we are working on all these projects, so that we can do something more interesting, which is what we call our Pair Works program, which is our job training program, which is where I do start to care about the end result. This is for kids who have the developmental skills to be able to do something developmentally more difficult, such as take on X level of responsibility.
So is this where...
Sorry, my dog's barking in the background. Somebody just knocked on the door.
Is this where the Pair coffee stands and
Exactly
stuff like that? Because
Yep.
I was really stoked on that. I'm not a big coffee drinker, but when I do, I like to go out, and not that other people don't, but I like to go out and find a new place to experience. So I definitely am going to come in and get some Pair coffee. So
Yep.
tell us a little about that.
Yeah, so we have 3 job training programs that, guess what, are educational, artistic, and recreational. Different
Yeah.
strokes for different folks, right?
Yeah.
So in our education program, we have our Coffee Works program. So this is an 8 or 12, forgive me, I don't know, 8 or 12-week training program that we do in partnership with Nosa Familia, which is a local roaster. They're awesome. Buy their coffee. So it's a really in-depth training that is everything from cupping to bean source theory to milk textures to alternative milk textures, this being Portland. So and then when kids graduate from that, then they can apply to get a job at our on-site coffee window that faces the public. It's open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. And so we have 6 or 7 students employed at any one time. This is not a program that's designed to make money. It's a program that's designed to be a pair pipeline into a first job experience where they can learn.
Well, they have to show up for something. It's
Exactly
a job.
that.
It's a schedule.
Exactly that.
And be accountable.
And be
Yes,
accountable.
Yes.
Yep.
That's a huge part of it, being
Yep.
accountable.
All-
Showing up.
All of that.
Dependable,
Showing up's
accountable,
half the battle.
responsible.
Yep. And it's a place where they can learn things like, I'm going to be late. Should I just assume I'm fired and never show up at Pair again?
Right.
Or do I do this thing called call my
Communication.
manager and communicate and discuss the fact I'm going to be late? Like, what do I do? And these are
Right.
things that
Well, I mean,
are
and
only
this is
learned in a
something that
first
they
job.
haven't thought of. I mean, they've been surviving. So
Right. Yep.
this all people don't think about those moments in our life because we take those for granted.
And
That
we've
we
also-
have those, we have that experience in our life, but these kids don't know.
We've also, been raised maybe in environments that are decent and okay, right?
Right.
And so we have learned through that to self-advocate,
Right.
And to feel like we deserve and can have the power to self-advocate in difficult situations. And these our kids at Pair generally don't have those skills. So
Yeah.
it's a lot about learning the really difficult skill of learning how to self-advocate. So then to move on, so we have Coffee Works, then we also have Artworks, which is for our arty kids. It's a different kind of job program in that we have a gallery that's open most first Thursdays, which is the Art Walk Day in Portland. And when kids sell their artwork out of our gallery that's on site, they get 90% of the proceeds.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
designed to be a really positive way to make money.
Well, that is
Very
wonderful
cool.
because
Yeah.
when you can make money, because a lot of these kids are creative because, I mean, they're dealing with a lot of things, so they're seeing it. So to be able to get paid to be creative is
It means they're-
very empowering.
it means they're a professional artist is what it means.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right
It's
away.
But that you can
really
create
cool.
something and you can make money. I mean, I think a lot of adults don't even know that, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. Like, oh, you think I can make money and create something? Yeah.
Well,
So
it's-
that's super great.
It's scary to put your creative talents out there and think that you can be paid for it.
Oh, yeah. I
Yep.
mean, I think
It's very trying.
It's
to do
vulnerable.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
vulnerable. Vulnerable is a good word.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then our last job training program is called Bike Works, and for our mechanically minded folks, and that's an on-site training where it's another 8 to 12 week training in partnership with Selwood Cycles. And when kids graduate from that, they can apply to get one of our 2 jobs at our off-site location on 162nd and Stark. It's our bike mechanic retail shop. It's amazing.
Portland is a huge biker community, folks. If you have never been here,
fact,
we have
coffee, art, and
nothing
bikes.
compared to Amsterdam.
Yeah, you kind of nailed the top 3 there.
Yeah.
But we're doing pretty good here, and it's a big deal here for sure. So that's a really good skill here to enforce.
Well, when I was
great.
looking at the bicycle aspect of it, I mean, that, for one, I was a little envious. I'm like, I'm going to learn how to like do all the bike stuff. You know, I mean, I can handle the basics, but be able to like build a bike, know all the pieces, be able to take it apart and put it back together. And I would guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but the folks that go through that program, though they may have a spot right away, at a pair associate facility, they probably can also go out and apply at any bike shop, and
That's
then
what it's
they're up
designed
in the
for.
works, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Entry level. Entry level
Super cool.
positions.
Yep. Exactly that.
Yeah, that was going on while we were there too.
Yeah. I got to see the art
Right.
the first time, so it looked completely different the next time we went in because they had the bikes thing all set up. So it was pretty cool. So I really want to be able to go into a little bit how the community can help pair.
Yeah. So,
What is the best way to help you help them?
give us money. Honestly,
Yeah.
because the thing is, I think it was said best by one of my friends a long, long time ago when we were first starting Pair. She said, Pippa, I don't like teenagers, but I see that it is important that they are cared for. Therefore, I outsource my love to you, Pippa. And that's why I give you money. And I was like, wow, that is so succinct. I love that.
That's
So,
great.
Outsource your care for anyone to organizations that work with those that you think are important. So if it's homeless kids, Pair is a really great resource to donate to. We can meet your donating needs, as they say.
Awesome.
And then also, we talk about time, and we talk about money, and we talk about passion, right? So donate your time. That's by volunteering. On our website, there's a volunteer link. So you can sign up for a volunteer training, and then you can work directly with our kids.
And remember, folks, we got to go through the volunteer training to get there, so that we can help them help them.
Yep.
Like it's like
an insurance thing.
And honestly, if you were to
Yep.
go volunteer at the Humane Society, you actually have to pay $50 some, and you go to a class, and you have to go to class for just dogs, and you have to go to the class for cats. I mean, and that's the Humane Society. So we've all got to go through that training, because it's like, we've got to learn these skills, because you guys have been dealing with it for many
and we
years
have a
now.
really specific
And some
way of
people
doing
can't
it.
just go in and be like, oh, this is
Right.
what I think, and then just kind of, that's just not how it works.
Well, it's not only meeting the needs of the kids that you're serving, it's also meeting the needs of the organization. And you need to not only hold kids accountable, but you need to hold your volunteers accountable to your vision.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have really high standards in terms of dignity, respect, boundaries, security. We hold these rules so tightly so that we can be really free within them. So that's the main thing, is to donate your time, your passion, or your objects. So, if you have stuff to donate it. Or, if it's a bigger object like a car, you can donate it through our website to the VOA. They'll sell it, give us X amount of money. There's other organizations, like if you're doing a garage sale, just sell all your stuff and give us the proceeds. Easy things like that.
Yeah.
There's things you can donate that are high quality art supplies, high quality foods, all of these things. You can also come to our events to support our events. Everything from a First Thursday. Sign up on our e-newsletter so you can see when our First Thursdays are, and just come and support these kids' positive artistic efforts.
Yeah.
You can come and buy a cup of coffee and support these kids' positive entrepreneurial efforts. You can come and get your bike repaired at the Bike Works shop and support these kids, again, entrepreneurial efforts. You can also come to our fundraising events. Because we don't take any county or federal funds, we're supported entirely by our events. We do receive some grant funding and some, funding from third-party events, all sorts of things. But we have some really great events coming up this fall.
What's the next one that's coming up?
The very next one is the Smiths to Smithereens. So this is 6 to 10 local bands doing covers of 80s college rock.
Oh,
It'll
fun.
be on Saturday, October 12th at the Alberta Street Pub. It's going to be amazing. There's an all-ages show from 5 to 7, and then overage from 8 to 11. it's amazing every year. This will be the 5th year.
Alberta Street Pub's fun, guys.
It's so good.
Everybody should go down
great
for that.
venue,
Yeah.
great venue.
And then
And bring
we
your
have-
checkbooks.
Yeah, bring your checkbooks. And then we have on-site on Wednesday, November 13th, our first ever ping pong invitational. So this will be hardcore ping pong raising money.
So is this at the location?
This is at Pear, yeah.
Is it on 6th?
Yes,
Yeah.
Northwest 6th and Flanders.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. So that'll be fun too. Awesome. Pippa, we would really, really like to thank you for coming on. What you're doing is amazing. The fact that it's going to make me cry. The fact that you connect with these kids and that is the reason that it drives you to help them is really very special. So thank you for what you do. And please give the other ladies a big thank you from us as well.
I'll do that. Do we have time for one more story?
We absolutely
Please do. Yes.
Absolutely.
Good, because in the beginning of this, I said that there were 2 things that happened on that very first day that we opened, and I only talked about one of them. The second thing that happened that day is there was a kid named John that came in, and John was a wildly feral young man. He was 19 at the time, and he had not seen his parents or anyone from his family for 7 years. Something happened
wow.
when he was 12, and he never told me what, but it was bad. And so he was with us, and he started making art. This is the power of art. He started making art, and it was good. It was clever. And we started putting it up on our walls, and it started selling. So a couple months of this, he's starting to sort of see himself differently. He's starting to see this gallery.
confidence.
He's starting to call the gallery his gallery, right? And so one day, something happened, and we were getting ready for an art show, and he said, Pippa, I'm going to call my mom.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And invite her to my gallery.
Yeah, John.
Fuck yeah.
Right? You know, and I saw at that moment, I saw the power. Like, he's not inviting his mom to a neutral territory coffee shop. He's inviting her for the first time. He has someplace that is his that he can invite her into, right? So mom comes for First Thursday, brings his sister. The sister has a 5-year-old kid, so he's never met his nephew before. We're all crying all night. Just like,
Wow.
It was just like waterworks all night, right?
Wow.
And he winds up moving in with his sister, and called us like a year later, was in mechanic school, and then we never heard from him again. And that was all in year 1, right? So when people have asked me about success stories, I've often told that story as a story of success. But now fast forward 17 fucking years. I get an email last week.
Oh,
Wow.
no way. Oh, my God.
Oh,
Timing.
wow.
Wow.
Tell us.
And so he's like, hi, my name's John. Do you remember me? I'm the first kid that ever walked into Pear. Here's my story now. He's like assistant manager at a multi-million-dollar construction company, doing great. Send a little picture of himself. He's so cute.
Pippa.
Talked about
Pippa.
and talked about his girlfriend at the time, who they'd gotten married and had a kid, and it wanted to take us out for just to have coffee and just sort of talk about the effect on his life, but it brought it all home.
Oh, wow.
All
You know-
because of 3 women
Yeah.
sitting together with wine and tears.
And their shitty Nokia phone.
A shitty Nokia phone, but with a vision and a purpose that you turned into a mission.
A dream. Well, you guys had to
That's
put a lot of effort
fantastic.
into it. So we have to remember to put effort into ourselves and these kids. But you know
Yeah,
what?
and your dreams.
The kindness, hope, love, all of those things can move mountains. We can help a lot of people, and it's not even just the youth. It's our friends. It's our family. That hope, love, and kindness.
That's a great time to bring this episode to a close. And we like to end our episodes with, as we started off, with a positive quote or thought. Gratitude is something that needs to be practiced in order for it to actually work. So we'd like to share just a moment or thought of gratitude with you all before we let you go. Today I was able to find a trail. I'm house sitting for some folks right now, and I was able to find a trail a little bit off their driveway, and I went for a run. And I used to be a very avid runner, and I haven't run in a long time. And today, I kind of hurt when I woke up, just made myself go through the motions. And when I was on the trail running, every step, like I kind of made myself every step like, yes, like, all right, slipped off that rock, didn't twist my ankle, gratitude. Here's a big stump I had to jump over. That was tough. Gratitude. Like, it was great. I showed back up to the house all sweaty and worn out, and I felt awesome. And I think it wasn't just a run. A lot of it was I was paying mind to that every step. Like, whoa, look what I get to do today. My feet work, my legs work. I'm able to, go ahead and do this thing that I really do like doing.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was really practiced gratitude. And I don't know, maybe it made the run a little harder, but I was even grateful for that. It kind of kicked my butt.
Yeah.
So what do y'all got? Share some gratitude.
Go ahead, Lori.
My gratitude moment of the week, or the one that comes to mind at the moment, is being able to share a wonderful night on the beach, dancing in the moonlight with La Luna, with a very, very dear, sweet friend of mine. Yes, she's sitting right next to me, Miss Naomi.
I saw her do it.
And just experiencing the freedom and the magic and the love and the sisterhood of just
we just put a little
being
extra
me.
effort. Yeah, and we went dancing under the
and you
moonlight
being you.
with
And
a
it was
little fire.
beautiful.
Oh,
It was beautiful, beautiful.
those
So
little moments of extra effort end up being pretty amazing.
amazing.
That was a good one.
What about you, Naomi?
I'm really stoked to share this story because Pippa's here tonight. As you guys will learn, I will always bring it up because I have a lot of extremely special moments with my community and from people around the world in my Lyft and Uber car. I think that it's a special opportunity that I get to see into people's world, and I am a very personable person, and so I actually had picked up this young man in my car, and I was taking him to his job. And it was, I do believe, at the Boise Fry Company. And I had used to live in Boise, and so that kind of was the beginning of the conversation about Boise Fry Company. But it immediately, so when I'm driving, you guys, when I'm driving in my car, if you're not engaging in a ton of conversation with me, I will always try to spark conversation. And I notice a lot of things on my drive. In fact, every time I'm on a street, which is a lot, and it could be the same street, I try to notice something different. So, and also in Portland, we have a lot of homeless. And so there happened to be a moment when I had seen something that was happening right in front of my eyes, and I had brought it up. So being somebody who has been there and understood it and is coming there from a compassionate place and an empathetic place, I mentioned it with this kid. Come to find out, this kid had also been homeless, and he had come out of Salem. And I actually mentioned Pear. And this was all very organically, and it wasn't because, we are working together and we came in, and it was all just because of something that we had witnessed on the street. And he lit up, and he says, Pear was one of the programs that really helped me get where I was. And when I went and got this job, I actually told them that I was homeless, and they still hired me. And so I wanted to share that story with you, that I had this moment not only for myself and not only for him. Like, we were really there because we were both like, wow, we did it. We got there. We both have been there. We get it. Look at us working. And that's really what I said. I was like, look at us. I'm like, I'm working. I'm taking you to your work. Like, we got apartments. Like, that's a big deal.
Success.
That's a big deal. And so we had a very special moment. Of course, at the end of the ride, I was pounding him, like, the knuckles. And it was really neat to be able to have that moment, and then to have you here tonight to be able to share that with you, that there is a kid that I drove that is one of your success stories as well. And it's pretty friggin' neat.
That's awesome. Really good.
Pippa, you want to share any last minute gratitude with us?
I would. Thank you for inviting me here. I really
It's our
have enjoyed
pleasure.
it, and also So I'm getting married in 2 weeks.
Oh my God!
Congratulations.
Technically 11 days or something like that. So,
Holy
so
moly.
it's pretty much the only thing I think about these days is sort of the navigation into emotional intimacy. And I'm so grateful to be a person that can do that at this point in my life. And of course, grateful to the happy recipient of my love, the very lucky fellow named Dave.
Oh, congratulations,
Dave.
you two. That's pretty special.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, you guys. Thank you all very much for sharing this evening with us. And please, everybody, do what you can. First you got to put the effort into yourself. So maybe start your day with a little bit of gratitude, a little bit of time, instead of rushing out the door, so that you can really be present for the people that we get to meet and greet all day long. It really does make a difference in a lot of our experiences. Trust me, as a driver, I get to see a lot of those moments. But also that's exciting is Corey from Rebel Cricket is printing our first shirts, Be a Nice Hole, today. So we've just started this company, it's all to spark conversation, and we're very excited about this. So yay, thank you, Corey from Rebel Cricket. And thank you, Brother Bear and Sister Bear.
Yes.
And so you can also find Pear through our website as well. It connects right to it on therealshit.net. So be sure to get on there and check out the Be a Nice Hole shirts. Check out Pear and how you can help. And also, if you'd like to meet Lori and I, we've got a little fun video on there. So we'll see you at therealshit.net.
And don't forget,
Be a nice hole.